The Battle of Spicheren, also known as the Battle of Forbach, was a battle during the Franco-Prussian War. The German victory compelled the French to withdraw to the defences of Metz. The Battle of Spicheren, on the 5th of August, was the second of three critical French defeats. Moltke had originally planned to keep Bazaine's army on the Saar River until he could attack it with the Second Army in front and the First Army on its left flank, while the Third Army closed towards the rear. The aging General von Steinmetz made an overzealous, unplanned move, leading the First Army south from his position on the Moselle. He moved straight toward the town of Spicheren, cutting off Prince Frederick Charles from his forward cavalry units in the process. Background: Moltke was pressing on with the concentration of the Prussian armies. His forces now formed two wings. On the right, the Second Army under Frederick Charles, containing the 3 IV, IX, 10th, 12th Corps, and the Prussian Guard, was advancing from the Rhine River towards Saarbrücken, while the First Army under General Steinmetz with the I, 7th and 8th Corps were moving into line with the Second Army from the direction of the lower Moselle River towards Saarlouis. In all, both armies numbered some 185,000 men. On the French side, planning after the disaster at Wissembourg had become essential. General Leboeuf, flushed with anger, was intent upon going on the offensive over the Saar and countering the loss. However, planning for the next encounter was more based upon the reality of unfolding events rather than emotion or pride. As Intendant General Charles-Joseph François Wolfe told him and his staff that supply beyond the Saar would be impossible. Therefore, the armies of France would take up a defensive position that would protect against every possible attack point, but also left the armies unable to support each other. Prelude: the battle was not intended by Moltke, who wished to keep Bazaine's army on the Saar River until he could attack it with the 2 Army in front and the I Army on its left flank, while the Third Army was closing towards its rear. The aging General Karl von Steinmetz made an overzealous, unplanned move, and proved that he did not have the slightest notion regarding Moltke's plans. Leading the I Army south from his position on the Moselle, he moved straight toward the town of Spicheren, cutting off Prince Frederick Charles from his forward cavalry units in the process. The First Army advance guard under General Georg von Kammeek, advancing on west from Saarbrücken on the morning of the 6th of August, found the bridges still intact, and seeing the opportunity that this offered, pushed on to occupy the high ground just beyond the town. The French Second Corps under Frossard, who had withdrawn his Second Corps back about 1 mile to the Spicheren Plateau, had abandoned these heights in order to take up what he considered to be a position magnifique, fortified between Spicheren and Forbach. Frossard distributed his corps as follows. Holding the right and center was the division of General Leveau-Coupé, deployed along the heights, with 2 companies entrenched on the Roderberg. On the left, General Charles Nicolas Vergès' division occupied Stiring and the Forbach Valley. General Batai's division was held back in reserve around Spicheren, in all, counting the corps cavalry and artillery, some 27,000 men with 90 guns. Battle: while the French army under General McMahon engaged the German Third Army at the Battle of Worth, the German First Army under Steinmetz finished their advance west from Saarbrücken. Early on the 6th, a patrol from the German Second Army under Prince Friedrich Karl of Prussia spotted decoy fires close and Frossard's army farther off on a distant plateau south of the town of Spicheren, and took this as a sign of Frossard's retreat. Ignoring Moltke's plan again, both German armies attacked Frossard's French Second Corps. Fortified between Spicheren and Forbach, Koenig thought he would be engaging the rearguard of Frossard's corps, which he believed was in retreat. He ordered a full attack, committing the 74th and the 39th Regiments of the 27th Brigade under Gen. Bruno von Francois into the walls of hills running between Spicheren and Forbach. The French were unaware of German numerical superiority at the beginning of the battle, as the German Second Army did not attack all at once, treating the oncoming attacks as merely skirmishes. Frossard did not request additional support from other units. By the time he realized what kind of a force he was opposing, it was too late. Seriously flawed communications between Frossard and those in reserve under Bazaine slowed down so much that by the time the reserves received orders to move out to Spicheren, German soldiers from the First and Second Armies had charged up the heights. Francois's attack had stopped cold by 1 o'clock. He would sit and wait for reinforcements, wondering all the while just how many French were in front of him. Lucky for him, every French attempt at a counter-attack was stopped by his artillery, as 3 Prussian batteries had been deployed with heavy losses under French fire on Galgenberg Hill, just 1 kilometer away from Rotherberg Hill. Koenig's 28th Brigade under Wilhelm von Werner would arrive in the afternoon and bring the battle back to life again. But the Prussian attacks would again be repulsed. The French would now counter-attack. General Francois, who was at the front encouraging the troops of the 74th Regiment, which had reached the edge of Rotherberg Hill, drew his sword, ordered the hornist to sound the bugle call to attack, and led the newly arrived 9th Company of the 39th Regiment in a charge in which he was killed, being struck by 5 bullets. Gen. Levacoupé's 40th Regiment pushed back Francois' badly demoralized surviving troops, while Gen. Charles Vergès' 2nd Brigade attacked Werner's troops, pushing them back. By this time, General Constantin von Alvensleben, commander of the 3rd Corps of the German II Army under Prince Friedrich Karl of Prussia, came to the aid of the compatriots' leading units that had arrived on the scene. He assumed overall command and immediately began assessing the situation. Drawn by the sound of battle, more and more Prussian troops kept appearing on the battlefield. Alvensleben decided to attack Frossard's left flank. After 5 p.m. the tide of the battle turned again, as General Bauteille's 2nd Division attacked with 15 battalions near Stiring and Spicheren, breaking Prussian lines and pushing the Prussians back almost to Saarbrücken. If Frossard had pursued these counter-attacks, he might have won the battle, but because the reserves had not arrived, Frossard erroneously believed that he was in grave danger of being outflanked, as German soldiers under General Adolf von Glümer were spotted in Forbach. Glümer's 13th Division had cut the main road near Emersweiler and was laying artillery fire on the railroads, forcing trains carrying French reinforcements to Forbach to turn back. Frossard stopped his successful attack, and around 7 p.m. he wired to his superior that he would have to take his forces back to the heights to avoid being flanked. With a combination of overlapping infantry and artillery attacks, the Prussians were able to roll the flank. Frossard's troops started to orderly retreat from Rotherberg Hill and Stiring. However, the French rearguard put up a strong resistance, and bloody house-to-house fighting occurred in Forbach and Stiring. Von Alvensleben's large infantry charge with more than 5,000 men overran the French rearguard at dusk, thus gaining control of the Rotherberg Hill. Instead of continuing to defend the heights by the close of battle after dusk, Frossard retreated in an orderly fashion to the south. By 9 o'clock, the French had given up the entire plateau outside Spicheren to the Prussians. The German infantry was exhausted and needed to rest and regroup, so even though rested cavalry units were available, no immediate pursuit of the retreating French was ordered. The German casualties were relatively high high due to the advance and the effectiveness of the chassepot rifle. They were quite startled in the morning when they had found out that their efforts were not in vain. Frossard had abandoned his position on the heights. Frossard had ordered a retreat towards Moselle, where he planned to withdraw and move to the fortress of Verdun. But once again he was attacked by Steinmetz at the Battle of Borny-Colombey. On the way they ran into Bazaine's division coming to reinforce them. Aftermath analysis: France had lost another battle, the quality of its military commanders and the lack of initiative mainly to blame. The German casualties were relatively high due to lack of planning and the effectiveness of the French chassepot rifle. Commemoration: there are numerous memorials on the plateau of Rothenburg Hill and at the various military cemeteries in Spicheren, many of them German, and at the Forest Cemetery and the German-French Garden in Saarbrücken, commemorating the fallen soldiers or officers of the individual formations, as well as a big memorial for the fallen French. Many of these memorials became a theme for postcards in the decades after the battle. There is a trail named after General Francois which passes the memorials on the Spicheren Heights. In the 21st century, groups from France and Germany regularly collaborate to reenact the battle.